Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to do a quick demonstration, I don't know, about a 2 or 3 turn walkthrough of the Battle of Crécy, 1346, which depicted of course, the English under Edward III and his son Edward the Black Prince, who at the time was 16 years old, on his right flank. Um, so this is the new. Let's see if there's a boot. So there's Age of Longbow Volume 1. The latest, the first initial version is 402. We'll look at that change log here in a little bit. As a matter of fact, let me just show you what that looks like. All right, there we go. Let's look through this just a second. Some enhancements in this 402 release of the Sword and Siege engine. We kind of called this out in the article, but this is just kind of a supplemental. Kind of walk through this just a little bit. They added, let's see, added ability to shade the fire range for selected move, Shift F. That's interesting. Have not tried that. Push skirmisher routines, now a default optional rule. Ability to set medium range for infantry, auto defense fire. It was not handled by the gun as opposed to the battery. That's an interesting, I guess that makes more sense based on the scale. Adjusted so the abatis and trenches, etc. are subject to line of sight reels. Interesting. So just kind of give you adjusted movement threat disorder optional rule. So there's just, this is just the differences, the immediate. All graphics are now PNG format. That's interesting. I don't really know the benefit of that other than potentially a little bit crisper, which you can see there they are crisp. Updated documentation. Okay. So that's that. That's how you get to that. If you need to look at that again, you look there. Kind of while I'm sitting here. I went over this in the article. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but this general help is really good. This summary info it will help you a lot. Terrain effects, etc. It goes through a lot of. Hold on a second. Let me make this a little easier to scroll. There we go. So it goes through terrain effects, but one of the better things is here. This unit status effect chart. Kind of tells you, kind of nails down why you definitely want to be in good order, right? No implications. That's what you want right there. Because look at all this. Like even at a disordered level, your fire becomes half effective. Your strength effect, your combat strength, just cannot change for me. I mean, it's just don't go. If you're gonna be disordered as you're in road movement or column movement. Be disordered before you get to the fight, not after. And at least as often as you can. You're gonna get disordered occasionally. From combat, etc., be it assaults or fire, cannon fire, or longbow fire. So speaking of those new units, I think I showed this in the. Hold on a second, I just got myself out of the. There's the left view. I need to get out of the full screen view. This thing. All right, if you ever want to see that full screen, you use this little full screen button here. Show you that. While I'm here, just kind of shows you the varying levels of the 3D. This is the closest view. Looks very nice. The kind of next view is this is good. This is a very useful view. I like this. It's kind of a good compromise, but I tend to play at this view. I just personally like the imagery better, just aesthetically. That doesn't mean that this doesn't look good, but like, so if you're kind of showing off a very particular situation in a particular part of the battlefield for demonstration's sake, or just showing off to other people, it looks nice, whatever. It kind of shows you a little bit more close up. Now, right here, I have the divisional colors turned on. Let me see if I can turn that off real quick. There's the, okay, well, here, while I'm here, this is the graphical unit counters. And then this is the NATO style. I personally like the graphical version. That's just a reference. Let's do that. Back. But I wanted to turn off. Division colors. There it is right there. This is division colors. And it's helpful at this level, especially kind of zoomed out like this. This is the full zoom out. You don't have much detail at all. It just kind of gives you a better idea. So I generally fight at this zoom level, and then I use the zoom. If I want a better kind of a contextual zoomed out view, I look at the jump dialog, and I might use it for jumping. In certain games, I will call this out, in certain WDS games, you can actually, this stays until you exit out. I kind of wish that they implemented that. Sorry. We'll mention that WDS. Let's see. Let's get out of this field view so I can kind of show you some of these units. So again, almost all the English, these are the English troops here. Let me show you a little bit how to get at the kind of informational levels of the order of battles are in info, show organization. This is what we have for the Battle of Crécy, which is one of the major battles in the first phase of the 100 Years' War. Later, you have Poitiers, or Portier. I don't know the exact pronunciation, but Poitiers, I think. But those are two major battles. I will do a few turns of Crécy just because it's very well known. It's basically the precipice or the precursor to Agincourt, almost a good century, later. But this is probably, I mean, very similar, extremely similar, right? In this case, they're a little bit of a stronger defensive position on elevation. So speaking of, all right, let's take a look at the armies first. Here's the whole English army. That's a different order of battle within the same system. Here's the English. Here's the. Okay, so this is all we have access to. We don't have access to theirs. I'd only have access to it if I had turned off Fog of War, but I have it turned on for this. All right, so as you can see, this splits it up by, you can look at each wing and or division, if you will. These are kind of large formations led by primarily a divisional leader with a D here, you see that? And then of course you have the Black Prince, who's also present in this stack here. So beware. But here is the ribalds, which are English ribalds. It's very an English thing of the time. Just basically, they've just been developed right prior to this battle, maybe about a year or two prior. Definitely right ahead of the 100 Years' War. But I think it was even so close. It was even closer to this battle in particular. And then as you can see, these guys have halberds, but almost every unit depicted with any form of a missile weapon, it's going to be the English longbow, right? The effective range here is 3 hexes. These hexes are 100 meters each by default on all the maps, but there are some what-ifs that include 40 meter. Let me just see if I can eyeball one of those. Can't remember where maybe it was La Capelle. See if I can find one. Not gonna do too much. Yeah, it's just yeah, here it is. Here's one, right? So yeah, so some of the battles are 40. What the hell? Let's go ahead and open this. I don't know which side's which. Let me just open it up for both sides real quick, kind of show you what something. See, this is a skirmish, probably more, I would call this. As a matter of fact, let's go look at how many people are involved. Yeah, you're talking like 1,000 or so, or less, right? Looks like the side A, which looks like it's the French. Let me see that. Why is that not? I thought that would highlight. Don't know, maybe something weird there. Okay. Let's try it this way. Let's this okay? So this is for highlighting your org. Let me go through. Let me find a different scenario. This one doesn't have enough in it. I just kind of want to show you that there are some that are 40 millimeter. Let's see if. Yeah, I would assume that that changes the scaling of the elevations as well to some degree. Okay, that's the elevation turn on button. Here's your objective turn on. All right, don't want to get too into that. Let's go find another larger battle. Just to kind of show you around just a little bit while we're doing it. Okay, so here's Poitiers. 1356 historical. And for this, I'm going to keep it open-ended real quick, and then I'll show you the difference of. Okay, so this shows you everything in the open. When you play it, when you play most of the WDS titles, like most series, there is here undo move. You're able to use that when you're not using the Fog of War settings. Okay, just kind of wanted to show you what we have here with Fog of War turned off, and I kind of want to just check something. Okay, that's working now. I don't know what was going on in that last one. Okay, so this one's showing off. There's the Germans, and then there's the English army, which doesn't have any foreign elements with it here, at least. And then, as you can kind of want to show you each division or brigade, depending upon what it's depicting. A rear guard is a division, battle is a division with an army leader near it. It's got the Black Prince there. So at this point, the Black Prince is a little bit more of age, right? He was 16 during Crécy. I am gonna, for demonstration's sake, let's go back to Crécy and start it from scratch. And I'm gonna do the historical one. It's only 21 turns. But in this case, I hope I picked this right. Alright, so one thing that it does point out is if there are any intended withdrawals and or arrivals, it usually will give you a message at the beginning of the scenario like that. Oh, I think I picked the wrong side. Yes, I think I did. Well, this shows you the French and the Genoese crossbowmen, which were accused of treachery and treasonous actions, after losing historical battle at least. So let's switch back over. Kind of what showed you what's seen and not seen, and I'll go through the toolbar mechanisms that kind of tell you which of your units are visible and what they see and such here in a moment. No, I don't. So I'm going to flip the script on that. Here we go. That's what I wanted. So we're going to listen to this one. Absolutely love the sound of the crossbows. Okay, so then it switches over to melee. And at that point, this kind of just shows you the phasing a little bit. So they did all their firing, they did all their movement, they did all their melee combat is a phase. So by default, that's the way it's set up. By default, there's also automatic defensive fire on, so on and so forth. If you want to see what optional rules are on or off, you go here under settings and then look at optional rules. See here, here's why by default that's not. What's really cool, I really love their hotkey mechanism, their overlay text. This is really nice because it tells you exactly what every single one of these does. There's certain things. There's certain route limit. Okay, yeah, this one I would normally turn on, right? And I mentioned this as a sidebar in the written article for Armchair Dragoons as well. Just you can kind of see it there, but you can kind of look at it better on the snap of it there on the article itself. But I tend to turn that on. I just feel like it. I don't know. It just feels more realistic to me. But a lot of all these are more by taste than anything. But that one in particular, I tend to. That's one of the only ones I mess with. So as we can see here, we got the good old ribalds, which are again the English multi-barreled cannons. As you can see, you don't have a huge amount of any mounted troops really. There's not much in the way of cavalry for this battle for the English. And then anybody who's, you got spearmen, you got halberdmen, here you got halberd. Actually that's spear. You also have wagon supply, which you need to kind of keep within certain range. I'm pretty sure you don't have to really intervene too much on those. You do want to protect them, of course, because I think the AI has a pretty strong algorithm to go for them, if they're available, especially cavalry in later 30 wars and such. The War of Austrian Succession as well. All right, back on task here. I'm going to just kind of talk through this as a typical turn. What are the things I just tend to do, right? I'm going to keep it to all. I do want to show, as far as the toolbar, as far as what's visible as in the toolbar, I will show you that you can delimit this. If for some reason that visually is overstimulating you or whatever, you can turn that off and kind of concentrate on this. I did that during the article just because it's a little easier to snapshot the one section and talk about it. But I tend to play with everything on there, okay? I'm going to go just real quick through everything. This switches you between move and fire mode. So, for example, if you select the stack, nothing gets selected by default. If you double click it, you'll select everybody. Double click it again, it unselects everybody. Let's find a stack right here. It's a good example. Okay, see how I double clicked and everybody's selected. If I double click it again, everybody's unselected. I can select on, turn on, and select and unselect individual. So it's always, what you got to keep in mind is that everything you do is related to what you just clicked, really, or what you selected. The a different thing is that this would be like if I'm clicking on the enemy, that would be a target hex, quotation marks, in which case I might begin a melee. Let's look at combat. Here's your artillery dialogue, setting auto defensive fire. That's already on. I don't mess with that. Begin melee, add to it, show me the odds, resolve it, or clear it entirely. This is kind of let's start over because sometimes you do screw that up pretty considerably. At least try to. Okay, let's go back through this. This is target or fire mode. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have it on, you'll see the reticle marker there, and then if I need to, sorry, I messed up. You need to start by selecting somebody. So let me just say I'm gonna just do a few things here. I'm not doing any tactics, okay? So I just selected this unit. If I wanted to fire on them, I could hold down. I think it's control. Yes, control. Control is like a manual mechanism. You see how it switches the reticle between cross and reticle, target cross and reticle. When it's a reticle, if I right click my mouse, I would fire on it. See that? Okay. So let me do this another way. The other way is to, okay, let me select these guys. They have longbow as well. I can just switch to fire mode. Sometimes it's easier to just stay in fire mode and get all your firing done. And the other way to kind of see who's already fired is this F button over here, right? You're seeing who's fired. So I can click on my guy, select him, and then fire. All right, the other thing, kind of skip one thing. Normally, pretty much the first thing I'll do, similarly, is I'll use the artillery dialog. And what this does is it shows you everybody who's available, and then everybody who's. Oh, this is improved. Looks better than in the previous version of the series. It's just a little clearer what's available and what's not. Nice. Just noticed that. All right, so again, you can pull this right here. If you double click on the thing in the dialog list, it'll go to it. See how it went to the revolves. Now let's go to these falconets. These falconets, which do have something in range, and everything that's in line of sight and within range shows up with a highlight. So this guy's in range and line of sight. This guy is, and this guy is. I'm a little surprised about that, but maybe it's because they're on a higher elevation. So let's fire. Let's just shoot right in the face of these Genoese this week. In the face. Okay. And then these guys can't fire. These guys can't fire. This guy. This is another Ribald. Or is it a Ribald? And let's fire on the same guys just because I could spot. Alright, pretty cool. Alright, so then we're done there with we're done with all firing. At that point, if you are in range and you intend to fire somebody else, I tend to just go ahead and go into fire mode and get all my firing done. Now here's the question. If I have fire mode on and I go up or down, hold on. Yeah, next stack or previous. Let's see what happens if I go to somebody who can fire. I just want to see if I only go to people who can fire. Let's turn the fires on too. So the theory is that if I'm in fire mode and I use the next or previous, I just want to see if it only goes to people who haven't fired. Yeah. Interesting. I guess that's because now if I do this and then this would be anybody because they haven't moved really yet, right? Now you're in move mode. Right. Cool. See the difference there? Hopefully that made sense. Trying to figure out why is there still highlighting there? Don't know what's going on there. All right. So then this is a roam mode. No idea what it really does. I think I looked it up when I was writing the article and gave it a little bit better description. But yeah, so the jump map, again, I tend to be at this semi-zoomed level, so occasionally taking a look here, I might do that, but I just kind of do this, kind of look at my surroundings. I usually stay here. Sometimes I'll look like this. And when I do this is usually when I'm doing kind of like more of a overall analysis of these are all the elevations. So we are at a higher elevation here. We have the higher ground here. You're not gonna, at Crazy, you're not gonna move too much as the English. So then let's turn that off. Another good one here is the combat modifiers. Just kind of shows you what modifiers you get in cover in certain certain types of cover. So that's interesting. What is that? Oh, it's a building. Usually I don't see independent buildings like that. It's usually a village or something. There's Abatis. 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 That's how you say it in Massachusetts. You got the Abatis down in the car in the party. So, yeah, that's that. Alright, let me do this a little bit more systematically. So I got you through here, got you through here. This one activates AI. So that's if you want to just let the AI finish the turn. I might even do that later just for giggles. Just I actually want to see what that does, but we'll do that towards the end. After I do fuddle about a little bit, I'll have it. I'll let the AI finish the turn for me. All right, so that's all that. Again, I have all turned on. I'm gonna delimit it to unit real quick, just to kind of just make it a little visible. This allows you to, if I'm here and I wanted to bring a certain thing towards the top, let's see what happens. See that? If I want to make that go to the bottom, let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens when I do this. See, it doesn't let you. You cannot change stacking order of a block formation. So just each formation to the top. Oop. Oh. Oh, it's well, it's telling me exactly why not. Cannot change stacking order of block formations. And the order of a stack does have effect on certain combat situations. I don't have all those memorized. You gotta look in the user manual for that. Just look at stacking. I'm sure those modifiers and such. It's kind of usually based on who's gonna get hit first, potentially possibly a ratio. Frontage and such is determined with that ordering as well, as far as the ability and how many units potentially are firing, their combat effectiveness thereof, etc. So that's all. Let's see. You can change formation with this. I don't see how this says restricted. That keeps you from changing that. Let's see if we can find somebody who's not. Okay, this is a light. He's already a skirmisher. Let's try to find a light. He's light in line. Let's try to change his formation. Yeah, so I just changed him to column. You really don't want to do that unless you're doing some movement over longer periods. It's just you're just not as combat effective. I don't know the exact modifiers, but that's not a great idea. So if I select him, let's see if I can. I don't think I can. Yeah, it took a pretty good amount of movement just to do that. Let's see if I can move him here. Yeah, he's kind of already spent. Just to show you some movement. Do that. Wow, and they got disordered. And they got disordered because they went across that ridge of trees right there, which are a little bit better visible and zoomed in. All right. Here you got the rear guard leader as well. Okay, whatever. What else? So I want to go over here. Let's change to skirmisher squadron. I think you can only do that. This is light. Let's see. No. Oh, there you go. So it's split off skirmishers from it, right? So then, if I want to reunite it, there you go. Now I don't know what the ramifications of that are. I don't know how far you can be away from them, or how close. I don't know. I would assume you need to be on the same hack. You need to get them back to the same hacks. I don't know. I need to read up on that again. Tend to not do that in late medieval, but say lovey. All right, so that was that. You get your formation, turning clockwise, about facing, going block. Let's see if I can even go block with them. I don't think you can. Yeah, because it's light. There's only certain formations that can do that, and usually those are restricted, and they some more often than not stay. Change extended line. So the one thing I will point out is their warnings and such are. Infantry in column cannot go to extended. Okay, so that's that. Let's see if there's a line that I have out here that I can. 2 rank line. Let's see if I can extend that. Fixed units cannot go into extend. Let's see if I can find a line that's not fixed. There you go. So that one, let's see if I can extend it. There you go, now it's extended. Interesting, because that, oh shoot, did I? Oh shit, I did the wrong, yeah, did the wrong button. This was what I wanted to do. Okay, unit does not have enough men to go and extend. So there's frontages involved. It's a really cool game. Such a cool game. Really detailed. Very cool. Alright, what else do we want to show here? We got the charge. Let's put these skirmishers in charge. It's kind of a goofy idea, but obstructed terrain. Alright. Let's see if I can make these guys charge. Only cavalry units can charge. Okay, that makes sense too. Alright, I guess only assaults are allowed otherwise. Alright, so change charge. Okay. Huh. Alright, it's pretty much a toggle. And then you just move. And then I think you have more limitations when you're charging as far as which direction you can go, etc. Which the usual. Toggle bridge repair. Undo last move, and that's only, watch this, say no move and undo when fog war is in effect. Alright, so that's all those unit commands. Combat commands that somewhat went over before. Your artillery dialogue, which we already did. Setting auto defensive, you don't want to mess with that when you already have it on. By optional rule, begin melee. Let's see if we can watch. It'll complain if I try this. If I try to begin melee, can only initiate melee and melee phase. Makes sense. Alright, so we'll wait. So that's all that. We'll come back to this when we after we finish this phase, and then we'll do that. Your report toolbar has a bunch of more dialogue-y type stuff. Leader casualties, strength dialogue, reinforcement, releases. There are certain pieces of this that are fixed. That's interesting. What time are we at? 5 p.m. So the certain things get fixed at a certain time. Okay, that's kind of weird. Alright, well, that's that. Arrived. I'll just mouse over the rest. Removed. Display org. That's the org chart, order battle. Locations kind of shows you a dialogue of the locations, which you can cycle through, which is kind of neat. Okay. Don't use it too often, but here's your objectives. Similarly, you can go look at them all. You kind of want to look for which objectives will give you more benefit, etc. Or you get a couple smaller ones that add up. It adds up over time. And then there's the objectives. Here's your victory dialogue. This is important because it shows you how close you are right now. It'll be a minor defeat if we were to end it right there. I like that because you can kind of gauge where you're at as you're doing it. Let's go to map. I've done most of these. You zoom in and out. Full screen. Get out of full screen. This one's cool because you can see the historical locations marked. Normally I turn that off, but it's good to get an idea. I tend to do that like early on during planning, especially if I'm kind of doing it cooperative with a friend or something. Talk about it a little easier as far as orders are concerned. That just turns on the coordinates in case you want to talk about something, but I think you can just mouse over it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right, and you see in the corner here, if you click on a hex, it'll show there, so not too much for doing that. Slopes on and off. I like the slopes on. Contours kind of just accentuates the contours. Kind of don't like that. I tend to do the slopes, but I don't do that. Comment modifiers, relatively easy to figure out what's a comment modifier. Let's look right near us. There's something there. There's a building. Yeah, there's a building right there that's giving them a comment modifier if they were to be attacked there. kind of maybe somewhat dictates where to go, where to where to attack from, etc. Map elevations, does higher elevation does help. Um, I don't know if it's just change. Well, it definitely affects line of sight. So let's for example, let's click on this fixed unit. I'll leave the elevation on for now, but then I'll check highlighting of what spotted units. No, hold on. This is what they can see. You see, that's the weird thing. So these guys again, it's not a very tall unit, but it's behind up. I don't know what else is blocking it. I wish you could, like, this will only give you, this is showing you exactly what these things see, and these might be blocked just by unit, based on frontage. But these guys have pretty good visibility out to the front line there. Kind of don't know how we even see some of these, but yeah. So I just wish there was a little bit more of an indicator. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit more intel there. I don't know what the answer is to what better looks like for that. All right, so we're back here. Let's turn off the everything. All right. Again, that was the objective markers. This is the carnage, which is just dead bodies strewn about. Hex markings or not. Leaders on top. Most of the time you do leaders on top. This just takes everybody off. Shows you where people are. Oh, I didn't even know that. I don't even remember that being. Huh. Kind of still gives you an indicator where everybody is. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it gives you a little bit. I like that. Yeah, I don't know if that's always been that way. I don't remember these slight raises being there before, but maybe I just haven't used it that much. Yeah, might be. This shows toggle bases as far as for visual sake. Kind of makes it, honestly, with these figures in particular, these countries, nationalities involved, kind of makes it a little more difficult to see who's who here. Especially because it looks like the Genoese look almost identical to the English there. Well, that's kind of weird. Got the same banners there too. Okay, well, yeah, that's that. So this is the bases on, and then for me it makes when you do the view with the division colors, it kind of, I don't know, looks a little goofy to me. It does help. The division colors do help in this other view here. But then otherwise, I would normally, now we get into the highlight section, I would normally do a highlight of org, which is Q, I think, by default. That's the other cool thing. If you hover over these buttons, it'll give you the hotkey in paren. So Q for highlight org. It's a very often used one. Spotted units. It tells you who of your units is spotted. And if you're trying to keep some folks, behind the scenes, away and kept in crevices or whatever, it's just this tells you who's seen or not. Obviously beneficial, potentially. Shows you isolated units. This shows you high fatigue units, disordered units, detached units that are out of command. Isolated means out of supply line, which is pretty bad. Basically surrounded. Fixed units. The English are fixed here for predominant amount of the rear. Moved or not moved. The fixed units are kind of like neutrally moved. I think I moved a couple here, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah. See that? And then fired. All the guys that I followed with before and fired or showing fired, and then even their fired units. That's what it is. These are the defensive fired units. And that's everything. That's the whole I mean, that's the whole kit and caboodle. Let me just let me go into a melee. Let's just go into melee. Um, okay, so now I'm in melee, and let me see if I can select them and start a melee here. And then I might, I might go to this guy and see if I can add this guy into. I've done this in a little bit. Let's see, combat. Let's begin melee. Cannot melee against own units. Okay, so I gotta. Okay. Do I have to select it? Let's see what happens when I don't select it. So no attacking units have begin melee. Okay, so that's just telling me nothing's been add to melee. Add to melee. Add to melee. That caused them to do a defensive fire. What I don't understand is why did that not cause it? Alright. So then let's look at melee odds. Advantage defender. Okay, whatever. So then let's resolve. Yeah, that was not good. 400 men. Well, that's because I got much less men involved. This one right here. These guys. These. Wait a minute. Where the hell is the other unit? Oh. They're all disordered now. I only have 80. I lost some men there. I'm 61% here, and I don't know why I'm not getting a strength marker there. But yeah, that's that's it. So whenever you do this, check the thing, and if it's not an advantageous melee, then I would clear the melee, right? But that's the game. Generally speaking, I'm going to try and finish out Gracie tonight, and maybe add a few, just kind of a once every few turns picture of the situation. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and just end it.